Hi guys, so today we are going to be talking about all of my Super Shock shadows. So here is my collection sitting in front of me. These are in absolutely no particular order. I have quite a few of these. I feel like they are my weakness. When ColourPop launches things, I always see swatches and I'm like, oh, that's gorgeous. And I pick it up. So my goal for today is not to necessarily get rid of half or anything like that, but is to really make sure that every shade that I have in here I'm like in love with, because the other thing I've noticed is that I keep forgetting to pull these into my everyday makeup collection, even though I've got these hanging on my wall. And if you're interested in how I store these Super Shock shadows, I will link my last Super Shock video down below. In there, I actually talk about how you can recover a Super Shock shadow that has dried out, and it's not using oils or anything else. It's using ingredients that are already in these Super Shock shadows natively, so it works really, really well to actually get it back to a starting consistency. So if you're interested in how to recover a Super Shock shadow, check that video out. When I looked at this video last time, I divided these up into categories first. So although these are the Super Shock shadows, ColourPop actually breaks them into different types, ultra glitters, metallics, etc. I'm going to actually insert some footage from that first video where I break down for you the different types of formulas in the Super Shock shadows. I just want to talk to you guys about the different formulas that ColourPop has, because currently on their website they have 6 different formulas listed, and then there are 2 ones that have since been retired. They may choose to bring them back, they may not at some point, but I did want to touch on these 2 formulas. The way they've got it organized is they have matte formulas, satin, pearlized, metallic, ultra metallic, and ultra glitter. These 2 in the back here are a sheer opal and a tie-dye. So if you're gonna look at the formulas, I've kind of laid them out here. So the matte formula is obviously matte. I actually think this is an underrated formula from them. The satin texture gives a little bit of sheen to the skin, but not a ton. You could easily use their satins as a matte shadow as you're building a look. Their pearlized shadows tend not to have any glitter to them, but have a little bit more shine to them than their satins. Their metallic formula, on the other hand, seems to have a decent amount of glitter in all of them, but it has a pretty strong base color to it as well. The formulas that they're probably the most famous for are their ultra metallics. This is the shade La La here on my arm, and it is full-on intense metallic color. Then they do something called an ultra glitter. Unlike the matte shadows that have a decent base to them, this has a lot lighter of a base and a lot more glitter. So those are the 6 formulas that you're going to see on their website more commonly. This is the sheer opal shade. It is sheer. It really is meant more as a topper. This is the shade Summer Lovin', which came out last summer and obviously has some glitter in it. It was more tie-dyed till I smushed my finger in it. Okay, so now you have a good baseline for what the different formula types are in here. I have decided not to do these by formula type like I did last time. Instead, I think I'm going to do them by color family, and so I really want to look at like colors, make sure I'm only keeping ones that I think I'm really going to use, etc. So I'm going to set all these off to the side. I'm going to sort them by color, and then we will come back here and start looking at them one by one and swatching them all. So before we get into this first section here, which is kind of like taupe and then silvery and pinkish type shades, I did want to kind of call out what I'm going to be doing with these shadows. So I have 5 buckets here over to the side, and I'm going to be plopping them into either one of these 5 categories. One is keep, which means it's a perfectly good working condition shadow that I want to keep. One is I'm calling recover keep, which means that I love the shade enough that I want to actually hang on to it some more, but it needs to go through my recovery process. And then the third bucket is donate. So these are good shadows, good working condition, but I'm going to give them away. Same thing, there is a recover donate. It means it's not that old. It may get a little crumbly or a little weird, but it's not super old. And if I recover it, I would be happy to pass it on. And then the third one is just trash for those products that have just been here for a while. Those are my 5 buckets. That is how we're going to be looking at all of these. But in order to get to those 5 buckets, what we're going to do is open all of these up and then get to swatching. So I should also call out that a lot of these shades may be discontinued, so I'm going to If they are discontinued, I will put that up here on the screen. The first shade that we have here is Liberty. This is a ultra metallic shadow. It is pure silver, and it is super duper pigmented, as you can see there. I mean, absolutely stunning. This one I feel like I reach for when I want that super wet foiled silver eye look, which I do like from time to time, and I still feel like this one is in good working condition, so this is going to go in my keep pile. This next shade here is probably my oldest shade, but it is one of my favorite, is the shade Couche. I don't even have to look at it. This one is getting really dried out on me, and I was gonna recover it because it was a discontinued shade, but they recently brought it back, and so because this is so many years old, I just made the decision to pick up a new one. I haven't even touched this one yet, so I am gonna go ahead and trash this old Couche. It's just too old to even donate, and put this one in my keep. And I'm gonna scoop these down so I can start doing arm swatches here. So up first, this is ColourPop Ladybird. This is a ultra glitter, and it's super light, super shiny, sort of white pearl shade. Next up is the ultra glitter in Frog. This one is gorgeous. It's got a little bit of it's a similar texture, but it's got a really strong pink blue glitter running through it. Next up is definitely sort of a duochrome teal peach ultra glitter. This is the shade Sailor. You can really see that sort of strong blue teal shift on this shade. This is from the Disney Designer Collection. This is the shade Hi Ho, also an ultra glitter. Ultra glitters have a thinner consistency, and I feel like although they work well on their own, they also end up looking really nice over top of things. This one's got more of a sort of pink silver shift to it. Yeah, let's shift a couple around here. So this ultra glitter is Force Behavior, and this one has sort of a peachy, strong pink shift to it. Next up is the shade Prickly Pear. This is also an ultra glitter. This appears like it's got a really strong sort of mauve-y taupe base to it. And it definitely has a little bit more depth than a lot of the shades we've swatched so far. Next up is a birthday shade. This is Birthday Boy. This was, I know, limited edition. It's definitely a little dried out on me right now. Very similar to that last shade, but I would argue it has even more of a base pigment to it that shifts sort of pink, and then got some teal and some gold glitter in there as well. This shade is from the Disney Designer Collection. This is Love, which is an ultra metallic. So this is the first ultra metallic we're going to shift. And it's a really pretty soft rose gold shade. This was in my project pan last year. This is an ultra satin. This is the shade Waddles, which is a really pretty mauve pink shade with just a hint of color through it. It's definitely one that needs a little bit of recovery. And then last down here is a matte. This is the shade Brady, and this one also needs some recovery. I don't even know how well that's going to swatch. Let's see here. Yeah, not much at all. Let's deal with this first row down here because I feel like a lot of them look very, very, very similar to one another. I have to say this first shade here is just shockingly bright and foiled. I'm really in love with that, and it still is performing very, very well. So I think this one is going to go in my keep. I also really like this sort of duochrome shifty teal one. I could see myself getting a lot of use out of that. This one is going to go in keep recovery. I feel like this Disney Designer one is pretty. It's like the pinkier version of the one down there, but I feel like I'm going to want to reach for that over this. So this is one that I think I can just go ahead and pass on. It's not dried out. Forced Behavior is a really pretty peachy shade, but I don't see myself getting a lot of use out of it. It is already starting to dry out, so I think I'm going to recover this one and then donate it. And then Frog, yeah, that one's really pretty. I like the pinky blue shift in there. I think I'm going to put Frog in keep recovery because it's starting to feel a little bit dried out as well. Moving up my arm, I still want to keep Waddles. I love this shade. I really enjoyed it for my project pan last year, but it is going to go in keep recovery. Brady is really old. It's super dried out. I could recover it probably, but I know this was one of the earliest shades I bought, so I think I'm just going to trash this one. I do really like this metallic one here. I think I could see myself using this more. I do want to set this one aside though to compare it against some of the other rose gold shades that are sitting over here. So I'm going to put this one in keep, and it's fine. It doesn't need to be recovered. And then in terms of these two shades here, I don't feel like I need both of them. I think what I'm going to do is recover Birthday Boy and donate it. Yeah, Prickly Pear also needs to be recovered, so I'm going to put Prickly Pear in recover keep. Next up, these are all of my sort of coppers and rose gold, so let's get these all laid out. So last time, let's swatch all these and then we'll make some decisions. So up first, this is a Ultra Glitter. This is the shade Sidekick. It's a really, really bright, vivid orange shade with a lot of gold glitter in it. Up next is the shade Game Face. This is an ultra metallic copper shade. And that one is starting to dry out a little bit. Traditional sort of copper. Next up is a pearlized shade called White Rabbit. This one's got a little bit more warmth in it, if you can see that there. And then next up, this is the shade Boy Band, which is also a pearlized shade. This one is very, very old. I know that for a fact. A little bit more brown based. Next up is the shade DGAF. This is an ultra glitter. This one is a bit of a duochrome shift to it. Definitely dried out though, so let's see if we can get this to swatch okay. So that one's interesting. It's got kind of an orange base, but it's got a really interesting sort of gold peachy shift to it. Okay, so back row, this is the shade Buzzin'. They call this a matte, but it actually has, as you can see, a lot of glitter in it, so kind of a misleading matte as I recall. And this one is a little dried out. I say a warm rose shade is probably the best way to describe it, with a gold glitter in it. Next up is a shade they're very famous for. This is Weenie. This is a shade that Kathleen Lights did with them. This is an ultra metallic, gorgeous rose gold. Next up is another ultra metallic. This is the shade Lala, a shade they're very, very famous for. And this one is just a little bit more coppery and a little less rose. The next shade up is Sundance. This is an ultra metallic. And that one is a little bit more gold and a little bit lighter. And then finally, this is a tie-dye shade in the shade Summer 11. This used to be sort of rose gold and white in the middle. It's definitely very dried out. And this one is probably the closest to the Kathleen Lights shade, but unlike the Kathleen Lights shade, this one actually has a tiny bit of glitter particles running through it, so it's actually a little bit more reflective even. Now, I did want to come in here and swatch the shade that I said I was keeping from the Disney Designer Collection, so this is Love, because I thought this ended up looking a little rose gold, but now that I see it, it's going to be a lot more silvery and a lot lighter than any of the shades that I've just swatched there. Okay, so let's go through here because I don't feel like I need to keep all of these. We've got a lot of similarity running here. Although this is the most unique shade probably on my arm, it's not a shade I see myself wearing a lot, so I am going to go ahead and donate this one. This one I feel like is in good shape though, and I don't need to recover it. Of these coppers, I think the one I prefer is this one, which is a little bit more rosy of a copper, so I do think I'm going to keep this one. This shade here in Boy Band, it's just super old. Although I really enjoy the shade, I just feel like it's too old to recover, and so I'm going to go ahead and trash this one. This one here, I just don't feel like I'm going to wear a lot. This is the shade Game Face. I feel like I can just go ahead and donate this. And then this shade down here with the gold and sort of the duochrome shift, I'm torn on it. I think it's a really cool shade. It definitely needs to be recovered. I think I'm going to recover and donate it. I don't necessarily think that this is a shade I'm going to love on a ton. Back row, this matte shade I can do without. I do think I will probably try and recover / donate. And now we come to these two shades. I don't feel like I need to keep both of them. I think I want to keep the rosier one, so I'm going to keep Weenie. And then I think I'm going to recover / donate Lala. I don't feel like I'm going to use this one a ton, so I'm going to recover / donate Sundance. I really want to keep this tie-dye one though. I know it's super similar to the one down here, but I really like that extra glitter in here. No, I'm just going to donate this one, recover / donate. I feel like if I keep this, I'm going to be reaching for the same shade. Okay, so here are all of my brownish type shades. All right, so we've got more of the warmer or rosier browns down here, and then the more cool tone browns back here. We'll do the same thing swatching. So this is the shade Cornelius. This is one they did with Kathleen Lights. This is one that I recovered last year, and as you can see, it is still nice and creamy, still really pigmented, easy to work with. Same thing with this shade. This is the shade Hanky Panky. This one's a little bit more neutral. Next up is the shade Flutes, which is kind of a yellowy baby puke color, kind of fun with mustardy vibes that are super popular now. These three were mattes, and so is this one. This is the shade Melrose. This one is so ancient. This came out with sort of their 90s collection several years ago. It's a pretty shade. And then this is part of Disney Designer. It is sort of it's almost more cool tone, so I thought this would be a good transition shade. Has a ton of glitter in it. This is an ultra glitter in the shade Almost There. And this one is brown with a ton of silvery glitter in it. I think it is so pretty. In the back row here, this is the shade Bravery. This is also very old. In fact, I don't know how well this is going to swatch. It is a matte, obviously. Yeah, not swatching so hot anymore. Bravery, I know, is also super old. That was a shade that came out along with Coffee Break with Danny. This is the shade As If, a matte shade that I did recover, and so this one is still going pretty strong, I think, at this point. Next up is oh no, it fell out. This shade is so old and I'm so sad. I think I may have to finally get rid of it. This is 90210. This was also part of the 90s collection. So it was a really fun shade because it was a really sort of gray brown color, and then they loaded it with a gold glitter. And for some reason, this just looked so pretty on my eyelids. And then this is an ultra glitter. This is this is a metallic. So it's called So Quiche. Ooh. Obviously that is drying out on me. So Quiche is also one of their more popular shades. It is loaded with purple glitter, but it has more of a cool toned brown base underneath it. So it reads a little bit more brown than purple. And then a last shade here is very crumbly. Let's see here. This is the shade Far Side. It is an ultra glitter. And it definitely needs to be recovered. In fact, I'm having a hard time even swatching it. Gosh, that really is a beautiful shade. Let's just work our way across the bottom here. I do like having a couple of matte Super Shock shadows for transition shades, so I do think I'm going to hang on to this one and this one. This one I know I'm going to trash because it's just so old. I'm kind of torn on this shade because I feel like it's a really unique color that could be a lot of fun to play with. So I think I'm going to recover this one. This one from Disney Designer, gorgeous. Definitely want to play around with this some more. This shade, Bravery, is also really old. I think I'm just going to trash it. I do think I'm going to hang on to this one as well. These are ones that I recovered. It's time to say goodbye to this guy. It makes me super sad. I also feel like I've had So Quiche in my collection for a while, and while I have gotten some good use out of it, it's never been my favorite, even though it's been super popular. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just trash this one. It's also very old. This last shade, I thought I was just going to donate, potentially recover or trash, but I really like how this looks, so I am going to attempt to save this guy. All right, so next up we're looking at more gold type shades, so let's get these laid out. All right, up here in the front is clearly one that is dried out. This is the shade Truth. This one I think is also part of the Coffee Break with Danny collection, if I remember correctly. Not quite gold, almost more of a neutral khaki type color. This shade here is Supermodel and is a pearlized finish. This is one that I did recover and keep using. It's a really pretty soft gold. Next up is one called Lovely. This is a metallic. That one's a little dried out, but it's really pretty. And then down here is Flux With You. This is an ultra glitter. Just a nice classic sort of yellowy gold. Back row here, this is sort of a dirty gold. This is ultra metallic in Get Lucky. You can see it's just got a little bit more of a grungy undertone than that sort of peachy gold up front. This is part of the ColourPop birthday celebration, and I don't know what it is. It fell off the back. It is a gold that has a whole bunch of sort of pinky, silvery, peachy reflect to it, little duochromy. And then this I think is Thirsty Girl. Yeah, Thirsty Girl, which is a metallic. So it is a pure gold. Oh, that's still so creamy. That has a darker, sort of blacker base to it. Let's narrow this down a little bit. This is really pretty, but it is super old, so I feel comfortable just trashing that one. Same thing with Supermodel. I feel like I've gotten all the love out of the shade that I'm gonna get at Pandit. It's a great shade, but it's super old. It's already been recovered once, so these two can get trashed. I really like this shade here. It just needs to get recovered, so I think I wanna hang on to, what is this, Lovely. I really like this dirty gold color down here. color. So I want to keep this, but I'm going to recover it. Thirsty Girl, I think, is really, really fun, and it's still good to go. So I want to hang on to it. So what it's boiling down to is, do I want to keep this shade here or this shade here? Honestly, I feel like the answer is no to both of these. These are still really nice condition though, so I'm gonna put these just in the regular donate in terms of not needing to recover them. So last category here, these are more greens and purples and bluish type shades, so let's lay all these out. Okay, up first, this is Telepathy. This is a shade that Kathleen Lights did. It is an ultra metallic. It is like a neon sort of chartreuse greenish gold. Next up is the shade Special Delivery. It is an ultra glitter. And this one is a little bit more sheer, but it's a really fun way to wear sort of a mintish green color or to add a little pop of shimmer over top of a green shade on your lid. This is a pearlized, if I remember correctly. Yes, pearlized shade in Partridge. This one obviously needs to be kind of recovered and brought back together. It's kind of an interesting greenish brown shifting duochrome. Next up, this is the shade Birthday Wish. This is in ultra glitter, and this one probably could have been in my browns. That was probably a miss. Very pretty, but very crumbly at this point. This is a satin shade. This is the shade Up in the Air. To be honest, I haven't played around with much with this one. This is one where I should use it a bit more. It's a really pretty purple shade. Up next, this is a metallic shade in Porter. This is one that Kathleen Lights did as well. It is super dried out and crumbly. Let's try it. It's a burgundy that has a gold sort of sparkle to it. This is a Party of 5 shade. This was, I think, also to celebrate a birthday. This is ultra glitter. This one is a really fun sort of rosy base with a strong blue teal shift. Next up is a purple shade called Whittle. It is an ultra glitter. This one has a purple base with a ton of sort of purple and teal blue glitter to it. Next up is the shade Issa, and this is an ultra metallic, has a slight blue shift to it. And then the last shade is Bay. And Bay just fell out of its container. Bay is a metallic. It's obviously a little dried out, but it is more of that partridge sort of color. Strong purple base with a ton of more brightly blue teal glitter. Shades I want to keep. Yes to Telepathy, still going strong, still love it. Yes to this teal blue shade. I think it's really pretty. I would actually like to play around with this spring a little bit more, and it's still good to go. Partridge is a really pretty shade, but I don't feel like it is super unique in my collection. I feel like I've got a lot of just regular shadows that do that same thing, so I do think I'm going to recover this one and donate it. This next shade is super dried out. Birthday Wish, I feel like, was one of the earliest birthday shades that I got. I feel like I'm just going to trash this one. This purple shade, I'm really intrigued by. I am really loving sort of that satiny shift on the shade Up in the Air. I think it's really pretty. So I think I'm going to recover this one and hang on to it. Back row, this is super rolled. So I'm going to go ahead and trash that. That's a really pretty shade. I think I still want to hang on to this birthday shade. And now we're just kind of left with these 3 purples down here at the end. I don't feel like I need all of them. The one that's honestly calling to me the most right now is the one that has this strongest shift to it. So this is still going strong. This is the shade Whittle. I'm gonna hang on to it. And to be honest, I think I'm gonna pass these other 2 along. This one's still going strong, so I'm going to just donate that. And then this last one needs a little bit of recovery, but I think if I do, someone will really get some joy out of it. All right, so I've totaled up what I'm keeping and getting rid of, and I've just kind of put these into 2 buckets, ones that I'm keeping regardless of whether or not they're good to go or they need to be recovered, or ones that I'm going to either be trashing or donating. So I am keeping 24 of Super Shock shadows. I am actually donating or trashing 26. So that means I had exactly 50 Super Shock shadows in my collection. I knew it it felt like too much, but that also means that I am getting rid of 52%, and I'm not entirely sure I would have said that's what I would have anticipated at the beginning of this declutter, but I am happy with kind of what I'm left with. I'm going to, like I said, go do the recovery process offline, get everything reorganized, and then here is a picture of what it all looks like, kind of reassembled, hanging on my wall, kind of in color order. Definitely feel like it looks a little bit more spaced out, a little easier to see, and I want to make a point now in my everyday makeup drawers and just in general to pull these in on a more regular basis. I hope you guys enjoyed today's declutter video and all the swatches. Let me know down below, do you like the Super Shock Shadow formula? If so, do you have a favorite shade? If not, why not? Would love to chat about this formula. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. Talk to you soon.